So I'll say again, welcome to this Q&A session on Whole Community Connection. My name is Melissa Green, and I'm the project director for the program. We have some amazing co-directors of the program, Meg Zamarati here in the School of Nursing, and Giselle Corby in social medicine, and they both have roles in the chancellor's office with the provost. So as we get started, I wonder if we could do kind of brief introductions, and folks, if you can access the chat, if you can just let us know where you're located, what area of interest topic-wise is you're most passionate about, and what's your favorite summer activity. So I'm here in Raleigh. My area of interest is in health equity and leadership, and I would say my favorite summer activity other than eating would be going to the pool.
Melissa, do you just want us to call it out, or you want us to put something in the chat?
Whichever works for you.
All right, well, as long as I'm talking. My name is Nadia. I'm working from home in Durham currently. I'm faculty in family medicine, and my interest is in infectious disease prevention and through vaccination. And my favorite thing to do in the summer is to cook out.
Cook out, great. All right. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Doris Steph. Welcoming everybody. Misha, I see you have joined, so that's good to know you got the email. And my favorite thing in the summer is just warm. I like heat. And this is the first time that there was more heat than I liked. And it has to get over 95 for that to happen. Other than that, I've just been visiting and fellowshipping and having fun.
So I want to thank each of you for joining us today to hear kind of a short overview about Whole Community Connection. And you're hearing from some of our advisors now, and so you see some of our connections with each other. But the time that we have today, I want to use it to share hear some reflections from our advisors and participants in the program, and also have a chance to answer any questions that you have as you consider applying to the program. And so we'll get into more details, but I would say in a nutshell, think of Whole Community Connection as being both a leadership and a grants program. So we think that the combination of those two are really the secret sauce for project success, sustainability, and scalability. And we'll get into this again, but our applications are due on September the 15th. And as we think about this program, I just want to share, from personally, I was born in a small rural town in New Mexico. And I've lived here in North Carolina for over 20 years. And so when I think about all the counties I've visited in North Carolina, I recognize the strengths and the resilience of rural communities and the challenges that these communities face. And so our program is really focused on helping to kind of support bringing together those strengths and resilience to collectively address those challenges with collaborators and community leaders, as well as with community leaders from those communities and leaders from UNC Chapel Hill. So I want to introduce our advisors who are able to join us today. We have Kay Freeman from Robeson Community College. We have Doris Stith from Community Enrichment Organization. We have Hope Bucinius from Emory University. And we have Don Cavallini from Greenville, North Carolina. And so they will be sharing some reflections about their experiences helping to co-create the program and deliver it. And then we also have some reflections from one of our Whole Community champions. We have Selena Armstrong. We also have Naeem Akbar, who will share with us some reflections they have. So I'll get us started with kind of the next steps of what is this Whole Community Connection thing? And so, really what it is it's our responding to UNC Chapel Hill's commitment to serve North Carolina. And this program is led by North Carolina Rule and the UNC Office of Interprofessional Education and Practice, with support from the Keenan Charitable Trust. And our values are service, authentic community academic partnership, and a focus on assets in approaching rural community development. Our vision is that building health equity across North Carolina through community-led collaborations supported by academic partnerships. And we have 3 goals, the first of which is supporting leaders to advance health equity in rural North Carolina. The second is to increase local power to focus on priorities at the community level, at and by the community level. And third, to co-create a relationship-centered engagement model for improving health in our communities. And so if there are any questions that come up, please feel free to raise your hand or interject them. And I'm glad that y'all are here. So other aspects I want to share about our model is that really it focuses on building relationships for collective and community-led action. And we see that happening across 3 different tiers. And the first is influencing. We see that across 3 different tiers to influence and advance partnership and community impact. And so we see that the center of that is really around self-awareness, awareness of yourself, but also awareness of your team and how you work together and ways that you might work better together. We apply that insight in a couple of different ways, but one of the things folks in the program get exposed to are different tools or leadership assessment tools that help them think about new ways of thinking about how they understand themselves and others. And then folks who are in the program also get to apply those insights to building community collaborations and thinking about ways to have mutually beneficial strategies that promote systems change, change that are not at the surface level, but really kind of digging deep into things that improve health in the community. So, our goal is that as folks participate in our program, it's a 1-year program, that they feel like their time is well invested, that they are able to gain skills and tools that exemplify or add to their leadership skills. We know everybody's a leader already, but this is a way of kind of bringing skills and opportunities to improve the way that we operate as leaders. Our other goal is that there will be new and diverse and growing connections across teams and across researchers at UNC. And we also hope that people who participate in the program will be recognized for their depth of understanding of local challenges. So that might be some media attention for the work that they're doing, and maybe even continuing to work with future researchers. And then one of our final goals for participants is that these learnings that folks get in the program are things that are shared through their work, but also more broadly in the community. So, we have a couple of different competencies we've developed through the program, and they've been developed in partnership with our community partners. And so, foundational to our program are first these core competencies that are in yellow: health equity, local vision, and social justice. And these aren't things we're necessarily teaching in our program, but we see these as uniting competencies that bring us all together. These are the things that everyone who participates in our program is wanting to recognize. Like, we want to improve things in our community, but we recognize we have our own local flavor, and we want to acknowledge and support that. And then we have, we intertwine those with 6 other competencies: awareness about what's happening in the community in terms of local context, the historical context, the traditions in that community, also understanding the trauma that has been longstanding in the community, as well as culture and language, recognizing that everyone brings their expertise and passion so that we can learn from each other, and that those things are increasing our awareness of community context. We also recognize the awareness of community of collaboration and partnerships to make changes and things that have been in our community for many, many years to improve health in our community, as well as communication. And so some of the tools that we offer help support different ways to think about how to collaborate more broadly, how to think about different tools to improve communication, and thinking about when there is conflict, how to resolve it, and how to have reciprocal negotiation so that there are win-win solutions. We also recognize that leadership is a lifelong process, and so everybody's on their own journey, and our program supports individuals finding their own version of that leadership. Each person has a chance to do their own individual leadership development plan. And then we also, one of the other competencies focuses on systems thinking. And so having approaches and strategies to help kind of think about how we might problem solve and transform change, that is recognizing both our formal systems in our communities as well as our cultural systems in our community. And I'll just pause there for any kind of comments or questions. Sorry, not seeing any. And so the way our program works is it's a 1-year program starting in January of 2024, and each team that's selected to be in the program receives the leadership development that I've just kind of described, plus $45,000 during that year to implement their projects. So teams are asked to use those funds to implement their idea, like how are you going to improve health in your community, either in Robeson or Edgecombe County. And then we bring folks together 4 times a year to share learnings, to provide additional leadership resources and tools, and then also to learn from the other teams and learn from each other and share kind of our insights. So for our 2024 cohort, we will have a convening January 17th and 18th, May 8th and 9th, September 11th and 12th, and December 4th. And we alternate between Edgecombe and Robeson County, and we provide hotel lodging that's nearby, so that teams can travel to each county. And then we also have meals and those kinds of things during the time that we're convening. So we would like you all to take a look at those dates and make sure that they fit with your schedules, because it's something that it's kind of hard to make up and do afterwards. It's really a chance to kind of build skills, but also connect with other folks who are doing similar work in their communities. And then the additional component is that folks have a chance for individual and team coaching while in the program. We ask each person to identify a mentor, and that could be a mentor that is an academic mentor, a nonprofit mentor, a business mentor, somebody that you identify who can help you think about ways that you can be a stronger, better leader in your community. And then there's also some independent learning. There are some books that are offered to participants in the program, and we also have a leadership library that participants can access at any time. So if they're like, I'm struggling with having a difficult conversation, there's a module on that you can look at at 2:00 in the morning, 2:00 in the afternoon, anytime that makes sense for you. So I'll pause there and wonder if any of our advisors or champions have any reflections they want to share about the agenda and the offerings for the program.
I would just like to add, when you were talking about the activities and the benefits of the program and just bringing the community, helping to bring people in your community together. I look back on when we had the flood of 1999, which did a disbursement in terms of people being scattered and what have you. And it was about 1.5 to 2 years later that a group of community people, leaders, what have you, agencies got together and decided we need to bring the people back together. So they arranged a reunion, concept in a local community park, Clark Park. And on this past Saturday, which is 20 years later, because of 21 years later, this was in 2000 or 2001, and now we're in 2023. That initiative has been meeting every year since 2001. They did not meet during the pandemic. Last year was the first year they tried to bring it together. And this year I went to it again at Clark Park. And it was just good to see people still coming together. Since that time, I looked at the growth of the park, where now they have equipment for the children to swing or climb and play on. They have a grill that people can grill on. They have benches. And so just the fact, and a parking lot to park in. So it's a way to look at the growth a community's development and recovery from a local natural disaster. So those are the things that whole community connection is going to help. I'm talking to those who are new to it or exploring it. That's one of the things you look at, how people come together in the community, how people end up staying together in the community. I saw one couple, and she said, we've been coming 20 years. We've been coming every year since they first started it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the affirmation and the testament to what, when a community brings itself together, it gives hope to the community, and it becomes a custom of the people in your community. And those are the types of things that will manifest as we grow with whole community connection.
Thank you, Ms. Doris, for that reflection. I mean, one of the things I take from that, many things to take from that, many nuggets from that, but one that change takes time. And so, even some of the things that you've mentioned that this park has now accomplished, probably all those things didn't start at once, but it's like one step at a time and prioritizing individual pieces. So that's wonderful. We have one of our current teams that has that is doing a community garden in Edgecombe County and using some of the land that is become available because of the impact of the hurricane on some of the land. So, okay, thank you. So I'm want to just kind of share kind of a glimpse, which is it's a little hard to kind of connect. Is like our program has both, in addition to the funding, both an online learning piece and an on-site learning piece. So we come together those 4 times a year. And in addition to that, there are opportunities to do some online self-paced work that's focused on the implementation of community-based changes towards health equity. And so folks in the program have access to, like I said, doing their own individual leadership development plan, that leadership library that I mentioned. We'll be using Canvas, which is an opportunity for folks to kind of track what's due, when does it due, what are some of the things that I've done to kind of support me, and what are some other resources. So those things will be available. And then each individual and each team has access to an executive coach and a team coach. And those, as well as, like I said, the opportunity to identify a leadership mentor. And so if you this is kind of like a snapshot across the program for each individual person as they're working on the project that they've identified. They're identifying an individual leadership development plan. They're working with their coach in a way that's going to be most useful for them. And they also are identifying a mentor. And so, and as a part of that too, each person in the program also has access to some different leadership instruments. So as you think about like how you lead, like the words that you might use, we offer some additional tools to help support how people think about that. And so one of them is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is one that helps people think about how they how their preferences in different situations. The other one is the foresight, which is an assessment that helps people think about how we problem solve, and think about how like I might problem solve might be a little bit different than how my team member Gabby might problem solve. So there's a chance to kind of think about those ways that we operate and how that might influence how we work together as a team. And then there's also the TKI, which is an assessment that looks at how we deal with conflict, because in these really challenging times, oftentimes there will be some conflict, right? And it's how we deal with those. And so I wondered if Naeem and Hope, if either of you wanted to share any reflections you've had about your experiences in the program thus far with the instruments or with the other components that are offered. And then I think we'll get back. It looks like we've got some questions, so we'll get back to those.
Quick question: how many projects are funded through the program?
Yeah, this last year we were able to have 4 projects in the awarded So it's been between 2 to 4 projects per year. And the projects are in Edgecombe and in Robeson County. So limits a little bit where you have to be to actually be eligible to participate in the program. Does that answer your question? Or
Yes, yes. I've worked a lot with UNC faculty for many decades and was told about this initiative. So thank you.
okay, which county are you in, Mac?
Robeson.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for that question. And let us know if there are other questions that you have.
No, I'm glad to hear about it. And of course, we need more university community collaborations. And I'm glad that, how long has this particular program been established?
It's a fairly new program where we're currently, we have our second cohort of the program. And then the 2024 cohort will be our third cohort. Hope Vicinius is on our advisory committee, and she's part of a different program that has sunsetted after 8 years. So it was a national leadership program. And so when she comes back on, she might be able to share some of her experiences in that program. But she's also able to be a co-facilitator in some of our training now and offer her experiences. Naja?
Hi, hi, Melissa. I know I emailed you last week or so, but my question had to do with sort of with the scope of the activities that are allowed under this mechanism. So, like, are you meant to be able to produce something tangible, or is the focus primarily on building these relationships and infrastructures so that you can be able to do bigger, better things in the future? Because I'm a researcher, and so my goal ultimately would be to establish some connections with clinical partners that I could possibly collaborate with on research grants and research projects in the future, but understanding that this itself is not a research mechanism, grant mechanism. So for someone in my position, what might be some permissible activities to apply for?
When you say activities, I'm not sure that I am quite grasping that, but I can share with you some of the examples of what folks have done in the current cohorts, if that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so on our website, there's a section for applying the program, but also community partnerships where we try to describe what our current teams are doing. And so we have, I think that every project that every team that has applied to the program has recognized, like, this is one step, kind of like the example that Ms. Doris gave of the individuals came together 20 years ago and wanted to do something following the hurricane, the impact of the hurricane. And so, like, there was one idea that has evolved over time. And so what we're looking for is something that is bringing and keeping something in the community as a result of that collaboration, and may also be advancing research. So, one example would be in the Tarboro Community Garden. We have a team that there's land that cannot be used to build something on, but can be used for community gardening. And so the team is doing that. They're also working with youth in the community to provide some community training, but also raise awareness about the different resources that are available in the community. And they're collaborating with the organizations being Freedom Organization and Food and Fitness Opportunities Research Collaborative at UNC. So in this case, part of the challenge is like identifying the parcels that they can access, figuring out if it's what could be planted. Is it something that looks pretty? Is something people can eat? So that takes a bit of time. And so this is kind of seed funding to help support that work happening, but it's something that will be the goal is that there are resources that the community is directly benefiting from. And then similarly, some of the programs like Robeson Parent to Parent is a program that is providing some training to parents who have kids with intellectual developmental disabilities, and they're trying to create a network and peer support. And that's something that's not going to be completely done in a year, but they're helping to establish the infrastructure and learning from that process. What's the best way to interact with parents with small children who have developmental disabilities? What are the best ways to offer training and support? What are the priorities, and so that they can deliver programming that is helpful, accommodating, and also useful to parents, and also how can they do it in a way that's not conflicting with something that's already being or duplicating what other services are already in the community. And so all for that. But I wonder if, let's see, Naeem, are you able to unmute and share what you're doing or with the Hope Alternative Learning Program? While you do, Veronica, it sounds like she's unmuted herself. Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I just had just a quick question too. I just wanted to introduce you to the second entry that I have here is Miss Linda Oxendine. She's with the Robeson County Poor Response Group. She's joining us and didn't have the link, so I just shared mine with her really quickly. She just wanted to get some more information, so I wanted to explain that.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, that's why you're on twice.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Well, welcome.
If Miss Linda has some questions, or maybe she, while Mr. Akbar is getting his together.
I just want to make sure that we've answered Naja's question before we move on to Ms. Oxendine's question.
Yeah, I guess yes, that was helpful. Thanks for sharing. I think what I'm sort of struggling with is there some sort of deliverable that we're meant to propose and complete during the over the course of this award period, or might it be just like, how would we document our success? Is it that we've got a program that we've implemented, or we've developed training materials for community members or something, or might it be like we plan to write a research proposal leveraging the connections that we made? I mean, is that an appropriate?
Yeah, I would say that there's kind of any of the things that you offered as individual or as collective deliverables. So we do have a team, the team that was working on mental health, supporting child mental health in Robeson Lummi community. Their first step was like, let's do some listening circles or focus group with parents around what the priorities are and how we might create an intervention. So that's where that team is starting. There are other teams that have an established relationship, and so their next steps are like, we've done this, we've done that. What we haven't done is X, Y, and Z, and so they're using this as an opportunity to strengthen their partnership and respond to an area that has not yet been addressed.
Okay. Yeah. And then while we're on that, just one last question: is there do you know how many awards will be granted this year, and what's the success rate historically for an award?
So I would expect our plan is to have 3 to 4 in this next cohort, and typically we receive less than 10 applications.
Okay, thank you.
Is Ms. Oxendine still on there? Okay.
Hey, Melissa, I am. I think Naja answered my questions. CORE right now in Robeson County, we're working very heavily on the opioid overdose response here. And so we were trying to look to see maybe if this would help in that area, if we could apply for something around that. So that was my reasoning for being on the call today. But thank you. I think Naja pretty much outlined in your sharing some of the projects that were being carried out here in the county, and Edgecombe County was very helpful.
Okay, great. Well, feel free to reach out if you have other questions. Good to see you.
Melissa, could I add a comment or two about Naeem's projects? The whole project started with Rural Opportunities Institute looking at trauma, the impact of trauma on children and their school performance. And so over the course of time, using that as the emphasis, the Edgecombe County school system has collaborated with them with the commitment that every school counselor would become acquainted and educated on the impact of trauma. So they have spent 3 years that I've been working with them, training counselors and parents on the impact of trauma on children and families. The impact of the work they've done, especially at one school, that reduced out of school suspensions and even in school suspensions by a large margin. So that is what I'll say for Naeem, and I'm sure he'll come in with more information. But Edgecombe County is now a very trauma-informed community due to this initiative.
Thank you, Ms. Doris, for bringing that story forward. And part of it too is they're creating a model that they hope will be replicated across the state. One, that counselors are trauma informed, and two, that there be counselors in every school, because that's not always the case. And they're also creating a model so that the funding to support that can be reimbursable.
Mhm. They've made a great impact.
Mhm.
I know at the state level now, the whole public education school system is looking at make sure every school has a therapist on site per public school.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a budget question. With the funding, is it anticipated that the team members from UNC and the community would be supported financially through the project, or is that determined, by those filing the proposal? And secondly, if another person is needed to help with research or policy work, can the funds be used to also contract with persons that the team would like to add to the team? So 2 questions.
Yeah, great questions. So yes, each team decides how those funds can best be used to support the work. Typically there's a little bit of those funds that go towards the academic partners, and the team decides what that breakdown might look like. Typically the bulk of the investment is in the community because that's the focus of the work here. So that might include some support for time for the community partners, as well as other individuals who have an integral role but may not be able to participate in the leadership components of the program. So I can say that for the project we were just talking about in the Hope Alternative Schools, some of the funds have been used there to kind of help create that cost analysis, as well as providing support for individual team members to be able to do the work, but also participate in the leadership component training. We recognize that there's not enough money to pay hourly or like a percent effort that covers every aspect of the program. We do also recognize that there are times where leadership programs like this charge people to participate, so there's not a fee for any of those pieces, but also something that we feel like teams can bring that content and that expertise back to not only their organizations, their teams, but also to their communities. And then I think that answered both questions, right? How the funds used, and whether you can use the funds for other folks who may not be the 4 who are on the team. Absolutely. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Each team decides what will be best. And so Gabby's putting into the chat box first the link that gets you to our website, and then I'm still sharing my screen, sorry. And then to the sample application. So we have a sample application on our website to kind of see what that might look like. And essentially what we're asking for is, title, description of what the problem is, your approach, what those outcomes might look like. And that's kind of getting back to a combination of the questions that Ms. Oxendine had and Dr. Violette, as well as how might you evaluate this? What would success look like? And so really we're asking for the applications less than 5 pages in terms of narrative. You can identify who the other partners are who are in your program. We do want to see, you know, who in your team has been working together. So using some of that space to describe that you didn't just meet yesterday, essentially. And then there's a little bit of space for any references if you want to include those. And then a place for your budget, how you want to split out those funds, and then a brief description of what that means for any non-personnel items. Incentives, that might be something you might want to use some of the funds for incentives if you're bringing community members together around listening circles or focus groups. And then that's kind of a description, and then there's a Word doc that you can actually download to work on your application and share it across team members, so that ideally there's transparency about what you're proposing to do and how the budget will be used, how you'll use the funds available.
Just coming back in, what was the question? Is there any particular focus of the question, or I can just share either way?
Yeah, so I mean, one, you participate in a similar leadership program, so that has had similar components. So your thoughts on how those have been helpful for you as a leader, and then any observations that you've noticed from WCC and your recommendations for why others might consider applying.
Sure. So welcome everyone. My name's Hope Yesenius. I live in Atlanta, but I'm actually a Lumbee tribal member from Pembroke. And I'm at Emory University. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and I work as faculty in the nursing program. So just to take a few minutes to reflect a bit about my experiences with WCC, we'll start with my clinical scholars experience with the RWJ Foundation grant that I received back in 2017. I had the opportunity to work with the same leadership team that is the WCC, and it was transformative. It changed my not only my professional life, but my personal life. The steps that we go through in this program, really you do a self-assessment from the first step, and then you go through some amazing different types of there's different types of testing that reflect on your personality and your leadership skill set. And then this amazing leadership team teaches you how to apply that skill set into all different types of situations. So it's very helpful in the leadership realm of things, because you can take all these components of leadership and be able to figure out how to better build a team, how to use the strengths best of your team, how to deal with conflicts and difficult conversations, how to, and having the coaches available to you. So if you have a particular situation that you just can't work out, you have a coach to connect with to help find your way through those situations. So I could go on and on, endless opportunities here. That is the first thing that I would like to just focus on, is that leadership and the support that you receive with leadership. Secondly, this is a wonderful opportunity of service. Everything we do is community focused. So, you know, it's about building all your community partners and collaborating with those partners. And even you'll identify partners you didn't even know that were out there, because the collaboration is so strong. And it just strengthens your base and your foundation, and being able to move forward with next steps, so you can have a sustainable project. And that, at the end of the day, that's what our end goal is to have sustainability. So, which is, as we well know, very, very difficult to do. So I'll stop there, but those are the two main points. Happy to take any questions from anybody. So again, welcome, and we look forward to receiving your applications.
Thank you so much, Hope. I do see one question around, can we share previous successful applications? We're not able to share past applications, but we do have a really good example of what kind of content would be helpful in an application. And as I recall, actually, I said that we have had less than 10 applications, but it's probably about a 50 chance of each cohort. I think we've had less than 8 applications. So I did, I was going to check with Gabby to see if we think we can get Naeem, or I want to close out with 2 quick things because I recognize we're close to our time. I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
In working with the second meeting in May, when I came back in the community, we had the issue of high school students not having jobs for the summer. So I went to the Tarboro Town Council and presented a proposal for them to fund an internship for high school students for the summer. After my presentation, it was unanimously approved by the town council that they would fund an internship. I had previously talked with the town manager, who said that if the town council approved it, he will find a way to make it work. So we'll next week will be the last week of that internship, and it went very well. We're having a celebration of that accomplishment next week. And another issue was that of school resource officers not having such a healing attitude with the students that they work with. So we proposed to the sheriff of Edgecombe County to allow us to train their school resource officers in trauma and stress, how to deal with those things, and how to understand what some of those children that go to school are faced with, and what they might be facing in their homes and in their community. So as a result of that, we have been training school resource officers to be more trauma informed. And Thursday, we will be training the last group of school resource officers, and it seems to be working very well. And I think that there'll be a lot of difference, positive difference, between students, schools, and the school resource officers. So that's what we've done so far.
Mr. Naeem, that is a wonderful testimony, story, and I knew pieces of that, but not any of that. So I think we saw each other last in April. So that is so good to hear as a resource in the community for the community, but also for those young people. And you've been a leader for many years. I know you're talking about the work that you did at ECU, and even the work that you've done around trauma-informed care prior to being in Whole Community Connection. I wonder if, as you think about like your experiences in the meeting in May, or things that you've seen, how you've seen your team evolve, how has WCC helped you in your own leadership development, or helped you in your partnership with your team?
Well, WCC has sort of given me flexibility to do the things that I see in the community that's needed. You know, something might be proposed through WCC, but when we get into the community, it could be altogether different issues. And I believe that WCC has given me the freedom to pick and choose those things that are directly affecting the community that I work in. And so with that freedom, I'm able to see what's happening in the community and addressing those issues.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like you said, even when you write an application, you don't know what's going to happen 2, 3, 5 months later. There's new issues. So, I mean, the work that you're doing to make sure there's summer employment programs is wonderful. Any tips or insights for why somebody who was on this call should consider applying to the program?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's worthwhile, and it gives you financial assistance to do some of the things that's needed in the communities. So I would wholeheartedly encourage anyone to apply for the program.
But we do have a quote from Selena Armstrong, who is a faculty in school social work and a member of the team called Robeson Parent to Parent. It was the team focusing on support for parents who have kids with special healthcare needs, specifically developmental and intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so, in this quote here, she's sharing that her role is at UNC School Social Work, and this opportunity provided her a chance to do service, as Hope has mentioned, because she primarily does training, and but she emphasizes that the parts that are particularly rewarding for her were the emphasis on culture, as she learned more about Robeson County community, its rich history and legacy, and got to meet a vast array of people, all doing great work in their respective fields. I've experienced growth and confidence in my leadership abilities and gain valuable skills for collaboration, project management, and implementation. So it's a quote from Selena that we can also circulate back out. And then just kind of an idea of as we're closing out this session, the things to kind of keep in mind is that our application for this next cohort, the applications are due September the 15th. And we will be scheduling Zoom interviews with our team sometime the week of October 16th. We plan to do a brief orientation so that all the teams that are in the next cohort can know who each other are, and also get to know about who are members of our team. And that'll take place on November the 9th from 2 to 3:30. And then I just want to share back with you again the dates that we would be convening in person in 2024. And as a part of our program, we do ask for some reports of how this program has been helpful to you, what milestones your team is achieving, recognizing they're going to be different for each team. And those will be due June 1st and December 1st.
And let me just add this also from when you put up the training tools and the fact that they're asking 4 people from each of the organizations who are recipients of the grant. This is a great opportunity to learn, to give yourself a self-assessment from the training tools. Who are you? How do you show up in your community? Who do the people see when you present? And also, who are you when you're sitting at that table collaborating with others? How do you show up? And from the training tools they use, you'll be able to gain that insight.
Thank you, Ms. Doris. So as we close, are there any, definitely you have my contact information, reach back out to us. And any questions that you have as you're working on the application. Are there any burning questions before we close today? I'm not seeing any questions. I'll put my info in the chat box so that you have that. But if you signed up, you also have our contact info.
Green. This is Veronica Freeman, Kay Freeman. I wanted to just ask this on behalf of maybe some of the potential applicants, would there be technical assistance as they apply, if they need some assistance with the application, or are they on their own with that?
Feel free to reach out. If you have questions about the application, what kind of things we're looking for that particular piece. Absolutely. So can't write it for you, but definitely can walk you through what we're looking for.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. That's for anybody who's on this call and anybody who's not. All right. Well, wish everybody have a wonderful rest of the day and week. And
thank you. Looking forward to reading those grant applications. Go for it. You can do this. Your community will benefit. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you all.